The following concept is an extremely powerful concept, and it relates to the language we use. And it is called nonviolent communication, and it has been researched and developed by Marshall Rosenberg. And maybe some background history here. So Marshall Rosenberg asked himself a question: is why do we have so many wars on the planet? Why do we have so many conflicts? Why do we have so many, let's say, disconnected communication styles? And he started looking at the way people use language. And he came to the realization that the standard way, the Western way of communicating is rather aggressive, rather violent. So therefore he comes with the other concept, the non-violent communication, to point it out that the classic way of communicating that we have is rather aggressive and violent. And what he means by that is that we tend to have a rather judgmental language. We're judging, we're labeling, we're pointing out like, hey, you are wrong, and you this, and blah, blah, this, and I find this, and you are not that. So it's about judging. And by judging, what happens when two parties are judging towards each other, they disconnect. That's the style of communicating. We tend to label people. We tend to say, score people. Oh, you didn't do so well. Boom. It's really putting people down. And by proposing more a language that connects people authentically, he came to this insight that by shifting the way we use language, it has this power to connect versus the disconnecting, aggressive language style, what we are brought up with. So don't feel guilty about it. We are brought up in the Western world, but with the language that the media is using, that we are using, that our friends are using, that our parents are using, it is rather violent. So something to keep in mind is that thinking error, the observation and interpretation, we tend to mix it up. So we have an observation. What I mean by that, for example, you see something happening on the street. What is the camera view? What is actually happening? While interpretation is something that happens automatically. Well, this person did this and this and this and this. So it's an interpretation. What is actually taking place? That is observing versus interpretation. So it's important to understand that distinction here. How to use this approach. And I'll go very briefly to this method. It has a lot of power to it. So I hope this module will inspire you to dive into it, because it's such a powerful language. It's probably something that has been a great influence in my life. And I wish this the same experience to you. So how to use it? It starts with an observation. A truly objective observation. And something like I see, for example, that we're late on the meeting. I see that you arrived late on the meeting. No judgment here, just I see you arriving late. Feelings, your personal feelings, that makes me feel, for example, it makes me feel not respected. Needs, your personal needs. Then say, like, I have a need to take good care of my time. My time is valuable. And request is, my request to you is that you arrive on time. So it's a very humane way of interacting. So I haven't been judging here. I'm talking about an observation, the feelings that I have, the needs that I have, and the request I make. Now, the other party might let's say, accept that request or decline that request. That's open to the other party. But at least I've been honoring, I've been authentic to myself, I've been empathic to myself in making observation, detecting my feelings, understanding my needs, and requesting them. It is an extremely way of communicating, and it shifts a lot of issues, especially when there are conflicts. I would suggest, though, to practice this when things are going fine. When there's a conflict is always a high tension, and if you start applying it only then, that's already sometimes too late. So try practicing as in normal settings. So the benefits is, first of all, self-empathy, but also receiving empathically what the other person is doing, and expressing honestly what is on your mind, your feelings, your needs, and it shows also empathy towards others. So there is an exchange of empathy towards both parties, but also, first of all, for yourself. The inner power of nonviolent communication, and something, an experience I had years ago. I was in the setting of learning this technique with somebody who also practiced Aikido. And Aikido is a martial art, a brilliant martial art, and it has to do a lot with flow of energy. And in this exercise, the challenge was that somebody would sit on his knees, and the other person would try to push that person over. It's like typical exchange of energy. What happened though is that as soon as the person was communicating in the classical Western way with judging style, this person was unstable, so that he could be pushed over quite easily. But as soon as that person switched to the nonviolent communication, that person became as solid as a rock, as stable as a rock, and he could not be pushed over. So just by switching language, that person could feel the difference, literally, in stability, impact, and in being calm, being centered. And the other person, in this case doing the Aikido technique, could not push that person over, could not move that person anymore. And it showed me how powerful this method was, by staying true to your inner needs, inner feelings, and requests. It was for me a completely mind-blowing experience, that it was so powerful, and how quickly the impact it was on my self-being, and in the way that my communication could shift and change my internal state of stability, physical stability even. So it is truly a mind-blowing technique. It looks so simple to use. I can guarantee you we fall back to old habits very fast. So be aware of that. If you have opportunity to take extra class in this at university, for example, I would highly recommend to learn this thinking and this approach. It will help you in your life, in your relationships, in the way you reflect towards yourself, the way you communicate towards yourself. So therefore, give it a shot, give it a try, be serious about it, and it will help you further. See you in the next module.